And what's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Talking NASCAR podcast. I am your host, Pringlesson, back at you again. And you'll notice I'm not even in Discord today. Hitmaster is away for a few days and therefore cannot record. He is skipping out on this episode, and sadly, we don't have a guest to bring on. So you just get a little bunch of little old me. But that's okay, because you get me every day. I'll try my best. There are people that do this, by the way. Not saying there isn't. Not saying it's a good idea. But there are people that do it. But anyway, we got a lot to talk about today, including reviewing what happened to COTA over the weekend. There's a lot of stuff that happened there, and then we got. There's the thing, Hitmaster did get a diecast that I wanted him to show off on the podcast episode because I didn't know what the driver was, and he's not here, so we're going to say that for next episode. So stay tuned for that. The rest of the news, though, we can talk about. There's some new stuff launched. A good amount of stuff, not a high amount, but not a really low amount either. And then at the end, of course, I will preview Richmond and give my picks for those races. So here we go. So let's talk about COTA first. Disclaimer, I was working most of the weekend, so I did not get to watch either the truck or the Xfinity race. I will touch on the truck race a second, though, because there was a big burnout fire from the winner, which I believe was Zane Smith. Let me just verify this real quick. Verifying who won the race. Yeah. Yep. Zane Smith. Burnout fire. You don't see those every day, but we saw one last week, so that's pretty cool. No, it's good when you do a burnout fire because you're excited for the win, and you already won the race, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, I didn't really get to watch the race at all. So yeah, other than that, congratulations, Zane Smith. Same thing with the Xfinity Series. AJ Allmendinger got the win. In fact, 3 drivers who aren't even eligible for the Xfinity Championship finished 1, 2, 3. Allmendinger, Byron, and Ty Gibbs. So that's wonderful. Good justifiable race to say that Cup ringers and Xfinity are bullshit. Which, by the way, I'm not a huge. Which, by the way, I don't care. I think that's how they're going to keep the ratings up, and that's how they're going to continue to keep it relevant and keep it competitive. But also fill the field for those races. So I don't really care. But Allmendinger gets the win. Not really a surprise there. He is a road course ringer. Came really close to winning the Cup race there at COTA last year. This is not surprising that he got the win in the Xfinity Series either. So, but then the Cup race. I did get to watch the whole Cup race. For the most part, I did watch it. And I got to say, compared to last year's race, it was not as good. This was really the third real edition. This was the third race at COTA, but really the second real actual test to see how the track would work as a NASCAR track. Because the first race with the rain and all that, we canceled that out. That did not really happen. Outside of Chase Elliott winning, that was a good thing. It did happen in that regard, but outside of like the race product itself, we can kind of void that out as of how COTA really works as a track. But last year we saw some pretty good racing. We saw an amazing finish. And this year we saw craziness. Like, it wasn't like a complete boring crap fest for the most part. And yeah, sure, I could say that. Most of it was pretty boring. Outside of the restarts, for the most part, till the end of the race, it was pretty boring. The restarts were incredible. And you get that at a lot of these big tracks. You get it kind of at Watkins Glen, but I'm thinking like Pocono, Michigan, those kind of tracks. You're going to have some really good restarts, but once the field settles in, it's going to get kind of boring. COTA fits right into that, into the piece of that puzzle there. yeah. Before we talk about the rest of the race, can I just say, why are you showing the betting odds as the race goes on? Like, I get Fox is like been huge into the gambling thing with the Fox Bet Super Six. They do it for the NFL and they do it for the MLB and they do it for NASCAR. But like, there's states where like the age for gambling is different in all different states, right? And you're just putting it up there like people can do that. I don't like that. Like, I get like you got to bet on a driver winning. Like, I get that that's going to be a thing with the new online sports betting world. I get it. Like, I'm not mad at that. I'm mad at that Fox is promoting it every 2 seconds in a race every time they show off a driver, and not like focusing on how the actual race is going. And that's my problem. And that goes back to a lot of rants I've done about Fox in the last few episodes of the podcast here, about how I think Fox is just a big advertisement for their products nowadays. Those Fox announcers, they don't have any real soul anymore. They're just there to promote products that Fox wants them to promote. And you put Mike Joy in there to make him think it's going to be okay, and you put drivers in there to think it's going to be okay, and it's really not. This is just another example of why I don't think it's going to be that way. But okay, that's just my rant about it. I think it's stupid. I'd like to know in the comment section down below what you guys think. If Hitmaster was here, I'd ask him what he thought, but he's not here. Yeah. And then probably the best part though of this race, though. We'll get back to the race. It's my rant about betting done. Funny enough, because I'm going gambling tomorrow, but I'm not going to be a sports bettor there. I hate sports betting so fucking much, dude. I think it's going to ruin the fucking game. That's a rant for a whole different time. Now the big anticipated aspect here, and this was going through all the 3 races, was the absence of stage cautions. We were looking forward to this all season. The road courses will no longer have stage yellows. Instead, they will still award stage points, but they'll keep the race going. There'll be no caution. This is going to be only effective at the road courses. COTA was the first road course race of the season. So we're excited to see how it worked. And I gotta say, based on what I read online and what I saw in the Cup race, I think that was a great, great move on NASCAR's part. I think that's how it should have been to start with. I think the craziness that we saw in this, where the road courses, I don't think were really the problem. I think where the stage points with no cautions needs to be really implemented, where we're going to see the biggest effect at it, is the restrictor plate tracks, Talladega and Daytona. I think that's where we're going to see it, because we've seen that a lot, especially in the Daytona 500, where you're coming down to the end of a stage and the whole field crashes because they're fighting for points. Because they know there's a caution coming, they know that they need the points. And sure, maybe still having the points will still make some antsiness there, but I think the absence of the caution will help allow for better race strategy and better race flow to keep things calmer and keep more drivers in contention for the win later in the race. We have a better product at the end. Of course, they're probably just going to pile up the whole field 4 times at the end of the race anyways, because that's how usually restrictor plate races, especially the Daytona 500, have been ending the last few years. But at least you don't get that all throughout the race, just at the end. But honestly, it worked well here. I think that's a move that I think as when next season or even later on in this season, we see that tried at different kinds of tracks. We see that implemented at more sets of tracks, if not all the tracks. I think that would be a great move for them to do, because it helped with pitch strategy. It helped with the flow of the race. It helped with keeping people where they needed to be based on how good they were that day. And so that I like that. That was good stuff there. And then we get to the end of the race. For the most part, I mean, we talked about the road course ringers. Jimmy Johnson crashed out early, which I didn't even get to see him race. That was disappointing. I did miss the start, like the first couple laps. Kimi Räikkönen, I'm never going to be able to pronounce his name correctly. He did probably ran the best out of all of them, but he finished like 29th. Not super impressive. He was up in the top 5 near the end, but then he got fucked over by some restarts, and he wasn't really that good. Jenson Button. Actually, I'll talk about Jenson Button for a second. He apparently almost had to stop and quit the race early because he had heat exhaustion. It is Texas. It's late March in Texas, so you have to assume the weather's going to be pretty good. I wonder if that was probably an issue, though, with his coolant or like a fan in the car not working versus the temperature outside. I'd love to know. Maybe a little bit of both. Who knows? That was pretty crazy. And then, of course, we get to the end. And then, other than that, I mean, all the other road course ringers, they were okay. I mean, nobody was really exceptional throughout the race. Of course, they were touched on a bunch because, they're road course ringers, but they weren't, like, super, 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 like, impactful on the race. Kyle Larson didn't have a great day. He was lapped off the lead lap for most of the race. But other than that, everybody else stayed pretty intact for most of the race. The race was very much dominated by 2 drivers, William Byron and Tyler Reddick, who were duking it out. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time they said that Reddick was better with braking and Byron was better on the faster parts of the track, I wouldn't be in college. That's what it would be. But, of course, it came down to those 2 at the end. Actually, Byron fell back because of the abundance of restarts, and Reddick was able to run away with the race and get the win. And win the race. And then we had, because, of course, the million overtime finishes. I think we had, 3 overtime finishes? And the rule about, getting to the white flag. COTA's like a 3.5 mile long track. So that takes fucking forever. So, of course, the problem was everybody would pile up in the first turn, and then they would wait until he almost got to the white flag, then throw the caution, because there was debris on the track. We saw a lot of drivers get tangled up in incidents here, mainly like Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex, who was making a rally at it at the end, got involved in the crash. I think Kevin Harvick did too, in his third and final COTA start. Who, again, was not really a huge factor for the win this time around. Still has not gotten his last win in Cup, I don't think, but it's definitely I did not come there. Not even close. We saw Kyle Busch attempt to make a run at it at the end, but he used up his stuff too early. And everybody else just kind of crashed, and it was a pretty wild finish, to be honest. Ross Chastain, who actually had a pretty good race going, caught up in a late race incident too, ended up rebounding for an okay finish, not what he was probably hoping for or expected. We actually saw both the Trackhouse cars do pretty well. Daniel Suarez had a pretty good day going, though that was negated later. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I don't know. It just seemed kind of like a traditional Daytona crap fest at the end, with all the crashes and stuff. Thankfully, Reddick, I believe, was a very deserving winner. He ran a really good race. Him or Byron definitely deserved it. Yeah. So Reddick won. He's locks himself into the New Year's Eve Spectacular for the 2nd consecutive year. He becomes the 12th driver to lock himself in, the 7th to lock himself in on winning the season. There are still 5 drivers who are going to currently, if the season ended today, would have to use their champions provisionals to get in. But Reddick locks himself in on a win. So that's pretty cool. Gets his first win with 23-11 after what has been a pretty disappointing season for him so far in 23-11. A couple of he DNF'd his first couple of races and just wasn't he had the speed, and he definitely, I believe, was a good fit. And I think Reddick in the 45 is it's turning out to be a really good move. And I think we're going to see a lot more good stuff out of him this season, especially. So, but yep, that's my review of COTA. Overall, I mean, yeah, it wasn't a great weekend. It wasn't a horrible weekend, though. So, it should be pretty good. So, there's definitely some debates that are going to have to be up if we want to go back to COTA. I think they are, because it's going to be a popular destination, not just for NASCAR racing, but for entertainment as a whole. So I think we're going to see that going forward. But that's my thoughts on COTA. You can let me know in the comment section down below what you think of COTA this weekend. Well, let's move on. Again, the diecast thing I'll have to save for the next episode, but we got some other stuff. So it was announced earlier in the week, Powerball and NASCAR are teaming up for a promotion called NASCAR Powerball Playoff. Okay. The promotion will bring 4 people to the Phoenix race weekend in November, and where they'll have a chance to win the $1 million. Sorry about that. They'll have a chance to win a $1 million win $1 million in a live drawing the day of the Cup race. So yeah, they're gonna be brought to. There's gonna be 4 people that are gonna be selected to go to Phoenix, all-inclusive experience to go to Phoenix, so that they can do a live on TV Powerball drawing for a chance to win $1 million, and it's gonna happen at the Cup race. That's pretty crazy, I think. What do you want? Go. Sorry about that. All right. Sorry about that again. So that's pretty cool. I mean, again, like I was going off about the sports betting thing earlier. I don't know. It really, sure, like it's not. It's a Powerball drawing just done at a NASCAR race. That's really all it is. Sure, it's okay. Like it's not a great idea in my opinion, but it's not like a horrible idea. And I think it'll be good for both brands, but still. Another big news story, not really a huge news story on. So I think we talked about a few episodes ago, a while back. There was like a shooting or like a drive-by shooting outside the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Well, there's crap going outside there again. Somebody did donuts in front of the NASCAR Hall of Fame. This was a few nights ago. What is up with people doing random shit in front of the NASCAR Hall of Fame? Like, what the fuck did it ever do to you? It is secluded. It is right in the middle of downtown Charlotte, so it's stuff like that, I guess, is bound to happen there. But why in front of the NASCAR Hall of Fame? Come on, guys. Come on. Other big news, silly season stuff. Anthony Alfredo. Remember him? Nobody does except for his name. He's returning to Cup action. He'll be running Richmond. It'll be his first time racing Cup since his rookie stint in 2021, where he was very, very, very unmemorable. So that's probably what it's going to be at Richmond too. Another new founding partner for the Chicago Street Course race was announced. Like I said, we fucking get news about the Chicago Street Course literally every episode since the race was announced. But the new partner, the next partner, other one, of course, was McDonald's. But we talked about that in the last episode. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. It's going to be the next founding partner. Cool. I don't know. Okay, that's cool. Yes, that is very cool. And then some gaming news. There will be no new NASCAR game this year. I think it was supposed to be called NASCAR 23. Well, it ain't coming. For now, I guess. So yeah, it's not coming. The last game still released for NASCAR gaming was NASCAR 21 Ignition. That flopped hard. I've done a video on that already. And yeah, that sucks. Kind of. I guess the developers didn't want to do it. Motorsports Games fucked it up with Ignition 21, and they're not like ready to do another one. It's kind of due because of the new car and the driver changes, but I mean, if it's gonna be motorsports gaming or nothing at this point, probably just go with nothing. NASCAR gaming, we've talked about this before. We did a whole episode on NASCAR gaming. It's gone downhill, very much so, since the days of the EA games, and it's only going for 20. The Heat games, they were okay. They were kind of just cookie cutter for each other, but they were holding their own. Especially after a rocky start with Heat Evolution, they got better as it went, but they were still kind of cookie cutter. And then Ignition 21 came along, and yeah. But it'll be interesting though to see if there is another NASCAR game at all, because that will be quite interesting actually. I feel like there should be, but the question is, if they're not willing to work with Motorsports Games, or Motorsports Games is not willing to work with them, who's going to step up and take the reign? Do they go back to an older team? Like EA? Don't probably want to do that, though. Do you get somebody brand new? Who would it be? That sparks a whole lot of debates and lots of questions. Will it happen at all? Is another piece that we really have to think about there. Because it could very well not happen at all, and NASCAR gaming could just die, which, I mean, it's kind of explainable. I don't think it will. I really don't think it will die. I think somebody will take the reins, some form. Of course, NASCAR gaming will not be completely dead. You still got NR 2003, which has been getting updates now for 20 years, which is fucking crazy. So it won't be completely dead, but you have to think somebody's going to come along and do something. This will be interesting to follow up on in future episodes when we find stuff out. But as it stands right now, no NASCAR game this year. Rip. So there was the Trackhouse did a updated statement on the Project 91 car that they've been running. Of course, this weekend at COTA, it was ran by Kimi Räikkönen. Again, I cannot pronounce that guy's name correctly at all. But he will not be in the 91 car for the next race. There is a driver sponsor, whatever, lined up, I think, for the next race that it will run. It has not been announced yet. So it'll have to be interesting to see who's going to fill the void for that ride then. It'll be cool to see him run then. So does that work? Actually, no. Wait, hold on. Penalty. COTA penalty. I almost forgot about this. Daniel Suarez, like I said, ran a really good race at COTA, I thought. Was in contention for the win. Well, he got fined $50,000. The reason for this is because after the COTA race, he went down pit road and bumped Alex Bowman's car. Okay. It's not out of the ordinary to see that happen. I think back to the 2014 fall Charlotte race, when that happened like 50 times between like 6 drivers, and then they fought in the garage at the end. So $50,000 for a bump, though, wow, that's a lot. But I guess he's a driver, so he can afford it. But no points or anything, but yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think. So I was at work the other day, right? And we were giving out tickets for an event. And I was working the will call, and people there. You can put your name. You have your name on there. I was filing the names, making them alphabetical order, and I found this one. Look at that, fucking Mark Martin. I don't know if this guy actually ever showed up. If he did, I didn't see him. Now, for a split second, I did think it was actually going to be Mark Martin that showed up, and then reality set in. Why the fuck would he be up here for a fucking basketball game? And why would who did he bring with him? No, Mark Martin did not show up, sadly. But that was pretty funny. It was pretty funny to say. Got a couple other things. It was just announced a couple days ago, or about a day ago actually. Texas Motor Speedway will be discontinuing its victory tradition. What it is they give them like 6 shooters. You give them a couple, they shoots them up in the air, bam, shoots them all the way up in the air. Where's the cowboy hat? The trophy's got like a cowboy with a gun and whatnot. It's a pretty iconic tradition that's been going back for quite a while, but that's gone. Well, most of it's gone. The gun shooting part is gone. The hat's still there. The gun shooting part's gone, though. And they're also going to redesign the trophy. This is in response to all the shootings that have been happening all across the country. In fact, there was just one in Nashville a couple of days ago. My condolences go out to all the people affected by that. It's a tragedy. And yeah, so in that sense, it's not surprising that they've gotten rid of it. It's a little surprising that if shootings are the response or the reason that they are getting rid of it. Why now? Why now? Not like a long time ago. These shootings happen all the fucking time. Why now? And also, it's Texas too, which makes it a little even more surprising that this happened because of the fact that, it's Texas. Their whole identity is fat burgers and guns. So why? It just that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. I know a lot of people who are NASCAR fans are way right wing and think that this is going to be the most devastating thing in the world. It's really not. It's fine. Like, they're still gonna do a victory celebration. It's Texas. It's gonna be shit anyways. You'll be fine. Move on. Because I'm not I'm not mad at it. No. I didn't really care to begin with, so I don't care right now when talking about it, or like my opinion on it. I don't really care. So it's not like a huge deal to me, And then Kurt Busch was on the broadcast for a Chicago Blackhawks game. They were playing the Blues. St. Louis Blues at home last night. What? Kurt Busch is a Vegas native. Why was he at a Blackhawks game? Like, I get he drove for 2311. They're based Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls, that all stuff. They're probably sponsored by McDonald's, who's also out of Chicago. But why was he at a Blackhawks game? This is a little puzzling to me. But, oh well. I mean, it's cool. Trying to get the hockey market into NASCAR, 2 dying sports. Oh well. So I only have really one piece of news left. It's a big one, though. And remember last episode we talked about Hendrick's penalty from Phoenix when they and also the colleague number 16 car. But I don't think the colleague car was involved here. 31, not the 16, by the way. I don't think the colleague car was involved in this, but the penalty got reduced. The fine for the money and the crew chief's suspension stayed, but the points were given back. Basically what happened with this, like we said, Denny Hamlin was planning on appealing his penalty I think he chose not to, and then went back to appealing it. I don't know the full story on that. But Hendrick also decided to try and appeal the penalty, and it didn't get fully appealed, but they got the points back, and I think that was the main goal, so that they can stay in the hunt for the championship. And it worked. NASCAR is not happy with that. And I'm not surprised. I am not surprised that that the points got reinstated. I'm not surprised. I'm a little surprised NASCAR's pissed because they seem to be sucking Hendrick's ass. Yes, I am a Hendrick fan. This penalty did not affect my driver though, because Chase Elliott's out. So the points penalty didn't even go towards the 9 team at all. So it didn't really matter. It goes towards Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, William Byron. Byron and Bowman, by the way, 2 drivers are right in the hunt for the championship, especially Byron, who's been on a tear this season. But what this message spreads, really, to the whole NASCAR community is that the big name favorable teams can cheat and get away with it. With no consequences, really. Because what's a little bit of money? Because what's the money part when they're rich as hell? What's the crew chief part when they probably have somebody, they can probably just figure out a way to get the plan from the crew chief, like write down what the plan is and just go on to the next guy for a couple races and then go back. I mean, you already got one driver locked in the playoffs. The other 3 are probably going to win at some point and get in the playoff. It won't matter at all. But the points, that would matter because of seeding and all that kind of stuff. So, and if somehow none of them do win, that would matter for getting in on points to the playoffs too. But now it does not matter. I'm not necessarily too mad. Like I feel like it should have been kept. I feel like the points penalty should have been kept. That might be just me being stupid. I don't know. It just felt like that it did not need. That shouldn't have been removed, in my opinion. Who am I to judge? Who am I to decide? All that stuff. But yeah, that's really all the news stuff that I had. Since Hitmaster's not here, I'm going to look up what's going on with Corrigan Auto Speedway. I don't think there's anything new. Let's see here.
No, I don't want to verify my password to get the full Twitter experience. Shut up, Twitter. God damn it.
Okay, we're probably not gonna get anything about that. Yeah, there's not anything that I can find. That's okay. Like I said, the documentary plan is still in effect. Still gonna get off the ground, obviously, because he's still gonna know what's going on with the track. We're planning on going out there soon, when the season starts, to get it all figured out. But we'll get it especially figured out soon, and everything that goes on with that. So should be pretty good there. We'll get it figured out. But yeah. Now I gotta fill the void. What should I talk about? So I gotta see about some new games, some new NASCAR games. Like I said, I finished all of the Lightning challenges in Thunder 2000, the Chase for the Cup 2005. I did them all. I did, because there was the one with the drafting. You have to play as Brian Vickers, and you got to draft Jeff Gordon up to the top 10 before the end of the race. And, you guys got to work together to do that. And when I first played the Lightning Challenges, because I jumped right into those when I started playing the game, I didn't know how to do it. It wasn't working great. But after playing the career mode and working my I figured it out and was able to easily beat that challenge. No problem. So I've completed all the lightning challenges now in that game. I've gotten up to the full-fledged career mode in the cup and for the fight to the top mode, which I think is really, really fun. I can't really get behind playing 07. I've played most of the lightning challenges. There's a couple that I can't beat, and there's some bonus ones. Like for the 05, right? You have to play. You don't have to unlock. You don't have to beat all the previous challenges to unlock the bonus ones, but in 07 you do. In Thunder 2004, it's the same thing. You got to do that. There's just a couple I can't beat in 07, so I'm kind of putting that to rest. When I was at the gaming store last time, they also had Thunder 2003 and NASCAR 06. I didn't decide to get them because I was already getting a bunch of other games. If they're still there, I plan on getting them next time I go, which I don't know when that'll be. But next time I do that, I'll probably go and get some. Get those. I also want to... And then, because like I want to try and get as many cool like NASCAR games as possible. Like, Thunder 2003 is probably going to be pretty good. NASCAR 06, it could be okay. Like, it's not going to be anything like wonderful, I think. Though I think it's going to be a pretty fun game, all things considered. But like, what about like 08? Is there a NASCAR 08? Is there? I don't know. Is there? I don't freaking know. I got 09. Is there a 2010 game? Is there a 20? I know I've got 2011. Inside Line was a 2012 game. I know there's a 2013, so I guess I could look for those. I was also trying to maybe get some other games too. We'll have to see about that, but and stuff like that. I'm also not getting the iRacing anytime soon. I know Hitmaster wants me to get it so he can stream. It's fucking expensive as shit though to get. It's a subscription-based service too, which is annoying. I really don't understand why it's a subscription-based service. I guess because they always are consistently updating the game and they want people to play it and whatnot. It's very high-tech. I do plan on getting iRacing one day. Like, I do plan on getting it. Just not right now. It's like $50, dude, for like a 3-month subscription. I mean, that's fucking expensive. I can't fucking afford that. But maybe one day. But not today. So, that's all the gaming news I got. I'd also like to go to some more cool NASCAR places, like around the country that are not like tracks. Like go to some stores. I used to go to, there's a store in Indianapolis that I went to, and I remember we went there a long time ago. When I think it was would have been about 13 years ago, actually. We went, and I remember, and that trip we went to like the zoo and whatnot, and like a family vacation. But we went to this NASCAR store, so I could look around, and I was just in heaven at how massive, full of stuff this whole store had. It was crazy. I picked up a couple. I think I picked up a couple diecasts. That was really it. I remember picking up a Ricky Rudd diecast, from 07, like COT version 2. I broke that one, but I got it from there. And I remember picking that up, and it was super cool to look around at all the cars and stuff. And I would love to go back there. I don't even know if it exists anymore. Probably doesn't. There was one up in Mackinac City too, the NASCAR store, full of old retro diecasts. And I remember getting so many. We went up there one time. I got to go in that store one time. I'll never forget it. I got a Robbie Gordon 2003 diecast. I got a Steve Park one Pennzoil car from 2003. I got a Ryan Newman 07 Altel car. It was incredible to go there. Broke the Ryan Newman car the minute we got out of the car at my grandparents' house, but that's okay. But yeah, that store closed too, for sure. I don't remember that store being around. I don't remember going back in, but I'd like to go to more NASCAR stores and see what cool stuff that they've got. But of course, that's also in the more high popularity of NASCAR too, when it was more profitable and also feasible to have that there. That's why I like the tents at Bristol. I'm going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this next week because we're going to preview Hitmaster going to the dirt race at Bristol. And I'm going to tell him, go to the tents. You're going to love it. Like, you got to go to the tents. And I wish more tracks did that. To be fair, I've only been to 3 tracks. Bristol, Indianapolis, and Michigan. But Michigan never has it. They used to, apparently. I talked to a guy there at Bristol. Apparently they used to have an MMIS. They don't anymore. And if they do, I don't know where they are. They don't. I didn't have it at Indy either, as far as I remember. But that was also almost 10 years ago now, which is crazy. But I'd like to go to some of those other tracks. I bet like Darlington probably's got something like that. I bet Charlotte probably does too. I would have to think even like, no, probably not Texas. Probably not Texas. Maybe Daytona. Talladega probably does too. That's probably it though. I don't know the tracks that would have that. Because you remember like Bristol's like a very, very long-standing and also very popular track. Talladega, I think, would fit that category. Charlotte definitely does, as far as like long-standing and also being in Charlotte. And probably Darlington too, in that regard. But there's not really any other tracks that I can feel like fit that like deep South, old heritage feel. Like Daytona, I guess could, but it feels like it wouldn't really work too much. Especially that's like a stadium. It's pretty crazy how big Daytona is to go to. I don't know if I actually ever talked about that on this podcast when I went to visit. So I've seen, okay, so when I talk about the tracks I've been to, those are tracks that I've seen races at. I've also seen, but not seen a race at, Kansas, Kentucky, Daytona, and Charlotte. I think those are the 4. So I can talk about those a little bit. Kansas and Kentucky, they were both when we were there for DI. Actually, Kentucky, we were driving back from our DI Global Finals trip in Tennessee, and we decided to stop and see the track for a little bit. It was under the repave at the time, and we went to the store, and they were playing the last year's Xfinity and Cup race on the TV, and also had the Indy 500 on. The Indy 500 was that day. This is about 7 years ago now. And I remember I picked up a Kentucky Speedway pin. It's pretty much all I wanted. I mean, I saw diecast. It didn't really have much. It was a nice little store, though. Overlooks the track. You could see the whole thing from the hill. It was pretty cool. We planned on going to see a race there because it was because we knew the drive. It was easy to do. We never got to do it, though. And that's, as far as the race product itself, I'm not too mad about it, but it would have been cool to maybe see a race there one time. Kansas is the same thing. Kansas didn't even have a shop. I was pissed about that. Kansas didn't even have a shop. We still got to see the track again. You can see the whole thing. You can see the casino. It wasn't, impressive. The casino was pretty impressive. It's a big casino. It looks small because the big track is right there, but it was pretty big, all things considered. But there's no shop. I was pissed. I was going to get a Kansas pin. I guess I got to go see a race there sometime. It's out in the middle of nowhere, too. I guess Kentucky is, too. I guess a lot of NASCAR tracks are out in the middle of nowhere. But Kansas definitely was. Because it's on the Kansas side of Kansas City, which is, like, not cool at all. Other than the Kansas Speedway, obviously. Charlotte, though. We went there about 8 years ago. And we did a track tour of Charlotte. I didn't get a pin, which I really annoyed about. Wish I had. That was a big trip. We did the Hendrick shop that day. We did a Hendrick shop. We did the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Those were really cool to go to. I'd love to go. I want to go back. There will be a Pringleson vlog in Charlotte. We're going there. We're going to the Hall of Fame. We're going to go to Carowinds. We're going to go to the race shops. We're going to go see Charlotte again. We're going to do it. That's a Pringleson promise. It will happen one day. Maybe not soon. Maybe not even super soon, but soon. One day. One day will happen. But we did a track tour at Charlotte, and I remember going on the banking and the turn. It doesn't look like much, especially compared to like Bristol or Talladega or Daytona, But that's steep banking for, especially when you're going like this little van. Yeah. But it was cool. We got to go on the pits, go in the garage. Didn't get to go in the stands, which was pretty good, which was a little disappointing, but that's okay. We went on the drag strip, and I remember the drag strip because of the fact that I remember going on the drag strip because he said if you hit, it was talking about like the protective systems that they've got in place so the cars don't fly off into the drag cars don't fly off into the crowd. He said if you hit the wall, you're okay. If you get past that, you get to the, I don't remember how it goes. You hit the wall. You go through the wall. Then you get to the rocks. If you get past the rocks, then you're going to see God. I remember there's something like that. I remember that was hilarious. It was really funny. But yeah, Charlotte's an impressive structure too. It's also more in a downtown area than I thought it was going to be, but it's still a pretty cool place to be. Pretty cool place to see. Then Daytona was absolutely massive, and it was super impressive to see. It's like Charlotte, where it's kind of just in the downtown area in Daytona Beach. It is huge, absolutely huge. It's more of a stadium style feel with a real concourse and stuff to do in the concourse. And yeah, it's really, really impressive to see. And we got to go on the track, and we didn't actually get to go in the turns. We got to go on the tri-oval. We got to like sign the tri-oval. That was pretty cool. We got to go. We didn't get to go in the turns. We got to drive on the apron of the turns. And I remember we were in turn 3, looking into turn 3, and my dad asked the tour guide where did Dale hit, and he could point out exactly the exact fence post that he hit, which is eerie, but also really impressive and cool. I remember that really well. And getting to see the grass and stuff, and getting to go up into the and get to go to Victory Lane. That was pretty cool. I liked going to Daytona. I want to go see a race at Daytona. I do. That would be pretty cool. Other than that, I mean, I don't know. I want to do track tours other places too, I guess, but Daytona was pretty cool. I've also driven around Michigan. I talked about this a while back. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of all I got. Anyway, it's time for the last topic on the list. And that's previewing Richmond. I believe, I don't know if all 3 are racing. Let's see. Let's check. Make sure who's racing this weekend. Oh no, they're not. Okay, so the truck is in Texas. The Xfinity Series is in Richmond. And so is the Cup. That's pretty cool. Why is the truck in Texas? Huh. It's weird. So, trucks are at Texas. Bad place to race. So, don't expect anything great out of that. So for the truck race, who do I think is going to win the truck race? And let's see. I'm going to have to go with Zane Smith on this one. Just because he's been on a tear, winning a bunch of races, and Texas seems like a track that's not really going to change much. Obviously, if he has a tire issue and hits the wall, like we've seen in Texas a lot, probably is going to affect it. But I don't expect that to happen. So, expect that to happen. And then for the Xfinity Series, they're at Richmond tomorrow. we've seen some okay races out of Richmond in the past. I'm going to talk about this with the Cup race too. We've seen some okay races from Richmond in the past. Nothing like great, but nothing like horrible either. I do say this about Richmond a lot. I think it's definitely by far the weakest out of the three tracks. I think it has the least significance of being there because Martinsville is literally like 10 minutes away or whatever it is, like maybe an hour drive. It's in the same goddamn state. They literally race their back to back weekends. Yeah, so that it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that why they do that. I guess for driving proximity for the fans and maybe the drivers, if you want to see both races back to back weekends. I don't know. It just seems like it affects the attendance of both tracks to put them back to back weekends really close to each other in proximity. And Bristol, in itself, is right on the Virginia-Tennessee border. So it's not like it's that much farther away either, but at least they're not like going back. Like, fucking Christ, they are going back to back to back. Well, fuck, no wonder why these tracks are down on attendance. This is also, though, the first one. Actually, I'm talking about that with the Cup race, but for the Xfinity Series, who I think is going to win Richmond? I think it's going to be Justin Allgaier. I think I'm going to go with that. I think that's going to be a good one. Good pick for me. Then the Cup race. Like I said, you're literally going back to back to back. That's going to fucking kill the attendance. And also because the short track races were not great last year. And yeah, they weren't great, and they weren't and so you need to put them back to back to back. This is the first short track race of the year, though, so it will definitely be interesting to see how they've improved the car to work, because they did do a lot of work on the car's design and to make it run better at short track races. So it will definitely be interesting to see how that carries over to this race, because I think Richmond is going to be a very good shower of that. We're not going to see it at the dirt race at Bristol. That's going to be an outlier, but and then we're going to see it at Martinsville too, as well. So, who do I think is going to win this race, though? We always seen Denny Hamlin do pretty good at Richmond. We've seen Kyle Busch do pretty well there too. Kevin Harvick Richmond was part of his double clutch wins late last season to get himself into the playoffs. This is another track that he's also pretty good at too. Is this the track that he gets that illustrious final win at? It's pretty likely. We saw him do pretty good at Phoenix. I apparently got screwed over by a restart late in the race. Again, I didn't watch that a whole lot, so I don't remember exactly. I don't exactly know if that's true or not. But it'll definitely be interesting to see how the track, both how the race performs, how it's going. And I know I probably shouldn't continue to pick him, but I'm going to pick him. And it's going to be Kevin Harvick. He's going to get it eventually. There's no way he doesn't. It's going to happen. It has to, in my opinion. But we'll see. I think there's a good chance that he doesn't get it. He was better there when it was at night. They're running at day now. I don't like that either. I think that really takes away from Richmond being good as well. I think it was much better as a night track. I think all short tracks should really be a night race. I don't know, Martinsville worked pretty good in the daytime, but I think it works pretty cool at night as well. I think running the short tracks at night gives a good heritage to it, and running Richmond in the day just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It really doesn't. So, but yeah, This is a little bit of a shorter episode. I know it's hard to do it all by myself, but you do what you gotta do. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Talking NASCAR podcast. Put your Truck Texas and also Xfinity and Cup Richmond predictions in the comment section down below. Hitmaster should be back for the next episode. We're going to talk about Richmond and Texas, about what happened over the weekend. Hitmaster will hopefully be here so he can show off his new diecast, plus talk about any other news that comes up from the week. And then at the end, we will preview his trip to Bristol to see the dirt race on Easter Sunday. So, I apologize again for the solo cast again. I'm sorry about that, but we should be back good next week. So, thank you for watching so much. Stay tuned for other much more amazing content. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Goodbye.